Grab your beverage of choice and spill the tea with us. This is ADHD, where attention spans are short, but opinions are strong.
We're your hosts. My name's Stacy, and
I'm Kat. Let's get into it.
we're talking about episode 2 of, what are these bitches called? Secret Lives of Mormon Wives.
The Basic Bitches of Utah is what we're renaming it.
Yeah.
At this point.
We're so excited because these girls are a hot fucking mess, man. So where we ended, so Jen was talking shit to Whitney about the other girls at the Mom Talk happy hour. That's where we left off, right? So then we come back in, right? And we are at the Mom Talk happy hour thing, right? And Taylor, let me tell you, Taylor in this season, her heart, I feel like she's a sweetheart, right? So she's extending an olive branch to both Whitney and Miranda, right? So Miranda wanted to work on her marriage, and they basically denied everything. And I think that it was really sweet that Taylor was like, no, listen, I get it. I was bad. I was messed up. That was really sweet.
I feel Taylor has such great accountability, and I know accountability is not everything. Your actions have to match up with your words, but Taylor is just like, that's one thing that she does not lack in, is taking accountability, and I give her all the props for that. That's why I am such a team Taylor right now.
And I where she said, listen, I wasn't a good friend and I have to own that,
Yeah.
And I feel like that was so sweet of her. And oh my God, I hate this bitch. But a part that made me laugh when Whitney says, I believe you. And she says it in that tone. I believe you. I think your intentions, like, bitch, no one cares what you think. We don't like you.
Nobody trusts your opinion. Nobody trusts you in
Nobody
general.
likes you at this point. Yeah.
You're not in Mom Talk. You're lucky you got invited, but which it's not even a real Mom Talk event. It's like Miranda reaching out. So that comment was so unnecessary. I feel like Whitney tries to insert herself in places where she just genuinely does not belong.
Oh my God, it just cracked me up. It was so hilarious to me. And then Miranda said she didn't want to own up to the swinging, and she admitted that she lied, which I feel that's everything that the girls in Mom Talk needed. Is they needed her to admit it. You know what I mean? Like, that was their point their whole time, because they're like, oh, I need to know who lied, I need to know who told the. And I feel in that moment, and I know like later on in the episode we'll get there, but in that moment I feel that's all the girls needed. She admitted she lied, she admitted that Taylor was right, and I felt that was done.
It's still not good enough for them, because you go to the confessions, Jesse's confessions, and she says, like, I still feel like we didn't get the answer that we came here for. She wants to know all the tea. She wants to know every little detail. And I honestly don't feel that's their information. Taylor knows what happened.
It's like she
knows what happened.
Yeah, she wants to know who S'd who's D, who made out with who, how many times, where was it good? Like, girl, you don't need to know all that. It was kind of crazy to me. It was kind of crazy.
Granted, like, I wanted to know, because, like, what do y'all consider swinging? Yeah, but, like, so we wanted to know the details, but when they're saying we just need to know who is lying or what's going on for us to accept, like, to know if we want to accept her back into Mom Talk, like, right there was your answer. Like, if that's genuinely all you wanted, then it should have been cut and dry.
Right, that was done. And I think that, so Taylor talks about the sex dream. She owns up for her mistakes and about she was afraid to lose her friend, and Miranda starts crying about losing her best friend. And I want to talk about the fact that women are not girls. Let's just be straight. This is now not the show. This is just a hot take from Stacy. The fact of the matter is that women are not girls, right? So often women don't believe other women when they're like, hey, I have this information to tell you. I saw your boyfriend, kissing on. How many times do women go back to their cheating partners, even after they have proof, after the girlfriend has snapped the picture, showing, hey, look, here's proof. I caught your boyfriend cheating. I caught your husband cheating, right? The women go back to the husbands or boyfriends, and then they end the friendship with the girl. That is such commonplace. It happens all the time. And at the end of the day, women are not girls. And that was just, that was crappy.
And that's exactly what we were talking about while we were going to Target, I think, to get the microphones. Was we were talking about my friendship with females is kind of non-existent. I have one friend, And I'm scared of girls, like genuinely. And I hope that people that are listening realize I have trauma from girls because they feel you're in competition or they feel we can't grow or thrive together. And that's absolutely not the case. I feel like you need each other to grow. We can all succeed.
Let's talk about your parallels with these women. Small town, small community, very religious, very male-centric, patriarchal, right? You guys' community is the same as this community, okay? So the fact of the matter is I am a very different community. I am not in a very male-centric community, and I don't have the same experience you do. I am in a very female-centric area. My girls are my girls. We go 10 toes deep for each other, right? And I think that also we're not in a very patriarchal area where we're at. A lot of the women over here are, college educated, making the money, like taking care of themselves. I've had my first house when I was like 19. I didn't need a man to succeed. And it was never about having a man for me to succeed. And so I think that is also the difference, is that you come from a similar community to them. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, it does. Salt Lake City, Utah is not small. Definitely compared to where I'm from.
But the Mormon community there.
Exactly. So just thinking within Mom Talk, Chase specifically, 2 people have dated him. So Miranda was married to him. Yeah. He was in love with Taylor. Him and Layla had this little fling, right? And so
or do they just have a fling? Because I feel that's not clear.
They were together for like 4 months.
Okay.
Yeah. But what I was saying the other day is I feel like our female to male ratio is there are a lot of females, but I feel like everybody's in competition over the men. Because everybody's dated everybody here, and it's crazy, especially in my high school, right? I think, so I graduated with 11 people, which is crazy. I don't even have classes that small there. So my high school boyfriend dated like 6 girls that we went to school with.
You need to get out of there, girlfriend. I've been telling you this. I keep on telling her she needs to move here because it makes 0 sense. There's nothing left there for you, and you shouldn't be fighting over men. Trust me, women, if you are watching this, never fight over a man. They are not
so thankful that I met my boyfriend. He's not from here. Nobody knows him. We're golden goose here. I don't gotta run into any of the exes or hear all the drama.
Well, I think that's funny though, is just because tying back to the girls, and then them crying about it, and I think that this shows the character development of Taylor. Because she also makes a comment that these girls forget I was a villain in that story too. And that gave me chills. I don't know about you, but that gave me chills. That level, we love a queen that is, self-aware of her downfalls. I'm proud of her for that.
Absolutely. Even with Whitney.
She gave her empathy too. She says,
she did. I don't hate you. You think I do. I don't. She did not show up to her baby shower. That was crazy. Taylor was literally at her lowest point. Just went through the divorce. Got pregnant by this dude she's been seeing for a very short amount of time. The criticism of being sexually active with somebody not married, the whole swinging scandal, was at her lowest. And then Whitney didn't show up for her. That was awful. And
Whitney is not a girl. No.
And Taylor has given so much grace.
So much. And every time Whitney has a chance to be accountable and apologize, she won't.
It's backhanded. It's very narcissistic. Jack and Whitney are made for each other at this point.
Why are they dating? Oh my God. It was so, but I liked how Taylor said I see Whitney getting torn up on the end of the internet and I have empathy for her. But here's the thing is at the end of that clip, Jessie talks about the guest list to the party and she's gonna invite Chase. This is messy as fuck. Okay. It's messed up. And I think even Demi came in and she goes, dude, that was messy. It is. That was so jacked up. That's not a girl's thing. That's not a thing you do to someone who you say is your friend. Because she's now making Miranda uncomfortable. She's making Taylor uncomfortable. She's making Layla uncomfortable. I'm sorry. For what? To what end? That's shit.
I get if we get all these people in the same room, we're bound to get answers. But
Yeah.
why would you want to put your friends that you genuinely care about in that
Blindside.
situation? Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel in this season, we're going to see a history, and a common theme is Taylor being blindsided. Because
Yeah.
we'll talk about it again in this episode.
Her
And just,
parents even did it to her.
yes, that's what I'm saying. We'll talk about it in
Yeah.
this episode. And just a couple of things. Her parents did it to her. Jesse did it to her. It happens again later. And at what end? Why are you guys going for this girl so hard? And I feel bad for her because,
Yeah.
you know, if you believe sex before marriage is terrible, then that's fine. That's your beliefs. But your beliefs doesn't make me wrong for not believing what you believe. And that is just crazy to me how they're attacking her constantly. It's crazy.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I felt like when I was writing my notes on this, episode 2 is not like very anticlimactic. But now that we're like talking about it, I'm like, okay, there was some good stuff here.
Well, it wasn't just anticlimactic. I think this is a setup for a lot of like the future stuff.
Yeah.
And I think some of these conversations that they have are super important because on the girls' shopping trip, they talk about Jen's relationship and how they can't come back from that, right? And you're like, oh, well, that's kind of messy. Like, think about the amount of shit talking they do about each other. This isn't, hey, I'm concerned about my friend, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is clearly, and I don't think they're wrong. They're not wrong. Jen and Zach, I don't know how they're going to come back from such a low low. And that's what they said.
Yeah.
They said, you don't see someone come back from such a low low and say this is the best of our life. And that is true. It is so, so rare. And as Jen said, due to his personality type, how are they going to come back from that so easily? He has no respect for her, but then you also see Jen has no respect for anyone else. Happy lying on everyone. She's okay lying on everyone, saying they didn't reach out to me, they never checked on me. So you will take a lot more disrespect in the name of doing what's best for your kids. And that's not a shame on you. That's also the other thing is that I was listening to a doctor talk about the dopamine that's released when you get positive interactions from a narcissist. And so, because they love bomb you, right? So you get used and so you're having this dopamine released on you, right? When they're being nice to you and they're loving you. They made me breakfast in bed. He picked me wildflowers when we were poor. He made sure I got a Mother's Day gift my first year as a mom. And he does all these things that you're, oh, he's a really good guy. So then when he's being in his true narcissism and letting his, like, you know, flag fly, you keep on trying to get back to that place. Time to drop to just a drop of kindness.
It's the cycle of abuse is not just, we're getting off topic here, but I think it's very important. And we're not anything like that, but the cycle of abuse can be physical, it can be mentally, it can be so many different things. And it starts out with the tension builds and then something happens. And then the narcissist pretends like nothing happens, and then they start love bombing, or not even love bombing. At this point, it's breadcrumbing. The love bombing kind of happens in the beginning of the relationship to make you fall. And then they start breadcrumbing and pretending like nothing ever happened. And then you have this reconciliation period, but then it just starts over. And you were saying, so we remember who that person was in the love bombing stage. And when they're breadcrumbing, your body releases that dopamine. And so it takes you back to that place. And then it just happens all over again. So when I say loving a narcissist is like a drug, essentially it's not necessarily the narcissist, it's that dopamine.
You know, I think that also, and I think at this point it's too early to tell which one, who's a who. You know, they all need therapy on this show. But
for sure.
To get back to the show, the boys' fishing trip, that was boring AF. However, what did come out in this, that I find the men very boring. If you guys don't know this about me, I find men in general boring, okay? My husband is an anomaly. I like him. But that's it. Other than that, men are terrible. Sorry, side tangent. So going back to men are bad and boring, and I don't like them. But this fishing trip was absolutely dull. But I did interesting that Zach separated from the church. And I think, and I'm not saying all religion is bad. I want to make that very clear. I don't think whatever makes you a better person and helps fulfill you is wonderful. but I think there are parts of each religion that can be toxic and really dangerous. And I think that certain parts that Zach latched onto in the church is very dangerous for his relationship. And I think that it also made him worse to his wife. We're talking about the part of his ego where he doesn't want her doing mom talk, but he's not supporting the family. She's making all the bills, and then he's like, you need to respect me as a man. So I think that the church helped him stay in a toxic mindset.
Yeah.
If we're being quite frank. So I think that him separating from the church for a little while was actually really kind of awesome.
I could be so far off here, but I almost feel like the Mormon culture is breeding narcissistic men.
I think religion in general breeds narcissistic men if they attach themselves to it.
Yeah.
Hear me out. I Drew Alfawalu, I love that queen, and she had a comment. She goes, "It's not all men, but it's always a man." Okay?
Yeah.
And I will quote that over and over and over again, right? It's not all men, but it's always a man. And unfortunately, religion does cling to the idea that men are better and superior. And you can believe whatever translation. If you believe in the Bible, I'm happy for you. This is not a dog on you. This is my perspective. But I think that religion in general does breed that male ego. And it's really terrible because men really need to. So.
Yeah.
So if you guys have noticed, Kate's the balance. She's really nice to men. Me, not so much.
Oh my goodness.
So they won't like me, they'll love you, or vice versa.
Yeah, for sure.
Did you want to talk about the because I wasn't interested in them?
The boys, not really. One thing, every time Zach talks, it sounds like Chat GPT. Like, we're about to film this scene. What do I need to say so I don't sound like a narcissist? But also, I guess this is the first part where, like, I realized it. Dakota's name being titled Taylor's baby daddy, like, yeah, I get it.
I told you that. Didn't I tell you that the other day?
Yeah, but it just seems very shallow of the producers.
No, I told you that from the very beginning.
Yeah.
I remember when we were on our Target run, I said, I think that they're throwing shade at Taylor, and by calling him the baby daddy, everyone else gets respect. But Taylor respect? That's
even
why.
Layla's boyfriend is Layla's boyfriend. You know,
why can't he be Layla or Taylor's boyfriend, or I don't know,
partner,
or Ever's father, father, Taylor's boyfriend? Because at this point they're broken up, so why can't it be Ever's father? I think they did that on purpose, and they wanted her to look trashy because of the comment about her being trashy. I don't like it.
Also, Dakota's eyes really bother me. Like, I'm not coming for anybody's like appearance, but his eyes always are so red, like around the edges. Like, if that's like a medical thing, I apologize, but like, it's not like they're red like he's stoned, like his actual eyes. It's just around the edges is red. What are you doing? Just every time I see him.
Maybe he's just dehydrated. Could be.
I don't know. That was something though.
I also wanted to go back to Zach who talks to the girls and you remember the talk where Zach met up with Demi and Jesse?
Yeah.
I feel like we got so much information from that. So much. And this is where you see the cracks that Jen may be a problem. Like a big problem. Not just a little problem, a big one.
And again, Zach sounded like Chat GPT.
He came in hot. He's like, I wanted to talk to you about you talking shit about me. And Demi's like, well, not talking shit. I was telling truths. And he's like, nothing you said was true. And she's like, hold on. Yes, it is. This is what we were told about you from Jen. And then he gets even more defensive. And then he kind of deflects and is like, I'm not talking about Jen. But you needed to talk about Jen because Jen was the one that is saying this. Oh, God. So he immediately starts confronting these girls, right? But they needed to talk about Jen. It is important to talk about Jen because Jen is the one that sat down and said, Zach gambled away the money. We saw it in season 1, right? It was season 1 where she talked about it. So they're talking about his gambling problems, his debt. They're talking about the Ben Affleck thing. And so they're telling him, this is what she's saying. And he's like, well, I don't want to talk about my wife. And it's like, bro, you need to.
I feel like she's trying to turn everybody on everybody. And it's so... Yeah, it's...
Yeah.
I don't... Yeah, I had a note in here. I feel like she tries to gaslight everybody.
Yeah, she does. And then I do like, though, I don't give Zach many points. You guys know this about me so far. But he goes, I'm going to take my wife's side. And you know what? I can't blame a man for that, as he should. As he should. Because that's what Dakota should have done for Taylor.
Yeah. So we get into that later, and I have it here. Taylor saying, have my back, and then address me at home.
Yeah.
Correct me at home or whatever. And so, yeah, I do feel like Zach did well with that. He was like, I'm not going to sit here and
bash my wife.
Shit. Yeah.
I'm proud of him for that, and honestly, you can't say anything else. This conversation is done. It did show us, though, as the audience, because, again, we have access. We've watched the show, right? So we see what's going on. So I think it gave us, as the audience, the ability to see that Jen's the problem, you know? Right, so we got to go to Taylor's family barbecue. Girl, that was some crazy ass shit. I would never do that to my daughter. Never, 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 never in a million years do that to my daughter.
Yeah, no. They invite him. She's immediately blindsided as soon as she walks in the house. They're like, oh, by the way, did we tell you that Dakota's coming? And she immediately rolls her eyes. No, but like, what does it matter?
Yeah, because they're going to do what they're going to do at this point. And so then, and Taylor says, I don't care. And the mom goes, obviously do, or else you would have left already. The mom is trying to get her to lose her fucking mind. And that's so shitty. It's terrible. Like, who does that? And then, I hate her mom. And then her mom, okay. So they talk about Halloween, and the dad's like, what are you going as? And she's like, oh, I'm going as Gretchen. And dad goes, slutty Gretchen? I'm like, ew, that is so gross to me. That's so gross.
It's like demeaning. I don't know. Is that like a man thing, a father thing? Because I love my dad. But like, my dad did the same shit to me.
No, he wouldn't ask for that. He would tell her, girl, you're going to go change. But he wouldn't ask her, are you going to be slutty? He would never say, you would never put those words in conjunction with your daughter. That's inappropriate.
Especially being a stepfather. And now I am the biggest believer in step-parents. I feel like with step-parents, you have the people you have no say in what a child does because they're your stepchild. And then you have the people that is a bonus parent. They have just as much say, you know?
Yeah.
But like in this instant, as a stepfather, I think that was very out of line. It was kind of disgusting.
Gross. It was so disgusting. So disgusting.
But also, Taylor is a 30-year-old woman. But Taylor's a 30-year-old woman. If she wants to go as slutty Gretchen Wieners, then fucking let her.
Yep, I agree. That should piss me off. And then the other thing so then let's go ahead and skip ahead, right? And then it says, so this is what I wrote down, is the mom is nice to people that are mean to my daughter. And that's what the sister said. She's like, why are you even nice to people that are mean to your daughter?
The mom being so supportive of Chase and Miranda.
Yep.
Chase really has said some mean things about Taylor and made her life hell. I mean, granted, Miranda was there too, but specifically they're talking about Chase.
Yes. And I think, and even the sister says, and I stand the sister, let me tell you, the sister in this season is just killing it. Why are you nice to people that are mean to your daughter? That's why you shouldn't be with them, right? And then the mom's like, well, Taylor, you don't care. And she goes, Mom, I don't have the energy to think about what you do right now. And it's not that Taylor doesn't care. She does care. She's hurt, but she's just trying to survive. She's going through some of the worst times of her life. Let's keep in mind, Taylor just got out of prison not too long ago. She had a baby with this horrible man that she found out was lying and dating two women at once, which was a big no-no, I guess, into that. And it's so tired. So then he walks in, right? And they sit down. They all give Dakota, hi, so nice. We're glad to have you, which is gross, right? Then they sit down at the table. And then they immediately start attacking Taylor. They are literally attacking her. The mom goes, you're so closed off and we're all sick of it. And then said, you're sad and you have a ton of baggage. Then dad is a complete asshole and says, like, what does it say about you for having sex, right? And then basically they're just bombarding her. Her brother's an asshole too. Her brother's a dick.
He's like, yeah, he fucked up, but give him some grace.
You got to give an inch so he can take a mile. What the fuck?
Yeah.
So you can go a mile. No, that's not how that works. The saying is that the negative says, if you give an inch, they'll take a mile, which means don't give them a fucking inch. Use the term properly, okay? And so then they're just bagging on her. You need therapy. You had sex, and Taylor breaks down and she's like, I was trash, and she was crying, right? And all of Taylor's family is toxic as fuck. And Taylor, if you ever see this, and I'm manifesting that you see this, you need to distance yourself from your family. You need to cut them off. That is some fucked up shit. And no one who loves you treats you that way. The only person at that table that deserves a spot in your life is your sister. Because your sister stepped in. And she was the only one that said you need to give yourself grace and you need to stay separated. And yes, Queen, yes, I agree. Yeah. She's the only one.
What the family doesn't understand is Taylor knows she fucked up when she started having sex with him immediately. The point is for 2 years, he lied about exactly what happened.
Remember last episode, I told you guys to remember this when she went to her mom's house, and I said Taylor talks about Dakota and him coming out and saying he messed around with the other girl. Taylor in episode 1 tells her mom all of the details and about how he lied, how he was messing with another girl. So her mom knows this. Her mom knows what Dakota did and still says you need to give him another chance and you need to stick around. That mom is fucked up.
Her giving him another chance was her continuing to be with him, knowing that he was having relations with another girl in whatever capacity. The point is for 2 years, that was his story and he was sticking to it. And then when he found out that she was going to talk to Jenna, he was like, oh yeah, well, a little bit more did happen. Like we kissed on the couch and kind of touched each other on the couch, which still wasn't even the whole truth. You didn't think Jenna was going to come out and tell the whole truth?
Yep. And I just think that was so disgusting. I do not like that family at all. I think they are super problematic. I don't know. I don't see how you ever come back from that. If that were my family, they would, you know how I am.
Yeah. Well, our cutoff game is pretty strong around these.
Oh my God. Oh, we forgot to tell them.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. Before we do, well, I guess we kind of can. Stacy and I are actually cousins, long distance cousins, but I brought a surprise for Stacy. I want to see if Stacy remembers. Are you ready?
Okay, show me. I did.
Yes.
I was gonna move here. And
I was supposed to move to Arizona to be closer to the family, and so we got, her name's Destiny, and it's spelled like a white girl would name her baby. It's like Destini or some shit like that. But Stacy took me to get my very first Build-A-Bear, and this was supposed to be my move to Arizona bear. That things didn't happen that way.
Kat and I have a very kind of toxic family. We have both cut out parents because of how horrible they are. So when we talk about Taylor's need to cut out her parents, it's coming from a place of knowledge, and we've lived through it. We've lived through parents. My mom told me I looked like a cow. I would be so much prettier if I lost weight. She has actively tried to harm me and my family. And so I think that when we say these kinds of things are toxic, it's because we've lived through them. We've absolutely lived through them. I think that, honestly, Kat, I want to say I'm proud of us for breaking the mold and sticking together and creating our own relationship outside of the family.
Yeah.
I really do think that says a lot about us and our forgiveness, because it's hard being a kid and not being selfish when you're going through these struggles.
Yeah. And another thing, Taylor talks about the toll that her biological father being absent has taken on her life. And I can totally relate to that, because the last time I saw my biological father was when I was 6, maybe a little bit younger. And it has traumatized me in a way. I am so thankful that he is not in my life, but that doesn't mean that it hasn't affected me in the long run. So I definitely understand where Taylor is coming from. There's things that she needs to do to heal from that so that she can be a better person for her family and for herself.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of our actions are honestly, like, it does have to do with when we don't have a father in our life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We don't know what a man, how they're supposed to treat us in a father role. And without having a man that tells you, without expecting anything out of you, telling you you're beautiful, you're wonderful, we didn't have that. And I think that that is sad for us. That's
And
really,
so when a male does that as you get older, you think that's the most
you think that,
amazing thing in the world
yeah,
because you've never heard it. And it sounds like you just need compliments. That's not it. It's just the whole experience. We didn't get the bare minimum from our parent. And so now the bare minimum seems like so much.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So yeah, I think all of it. It was a rough episode to watch that. It really was because I feel it. I feel it. And I've had my mom attack me like her mom was attacking her, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that I feel bad for her. I feel bad for her. And that episode, like I cried watching that episode and I got mad. I got really angry.
Yeah. And then so we wrap up the dinner convo, and then it goes back to Jen and Zach. Zach gets home and he's talking to Jen on the couch, and he said, we sat down and it felt like everyone was against, and she was like, you? And he was like, no, you. And so everyone was against you. And he started to explain some things. You told me that nobody reached out to you after the Vegas thing. And they're saying that they did. And she was like, oh no, nobody did. Are you serious? Why would they say that? Starts trying to gaslight him into believing that nobody was there for her. Why?
That's what I said. Jen gaslights Zach about her lies to the girls. And I
Yeah.
think that, and so I think that she got so angry and so defensive so quickly, he stopped asking the right questions because he was on a roll with the questions he was asking.
And then, I mean, we go to, that kind of wraps up, and then we go to the Halloween party. But I'm going to go ahead and address the Jen and Zach thing before the Halloween party. She, again, is trying to gaslight him into believing that Ben Affleck is his second cousin. And he's like, Jen, no. And she's like, yeah, your parents told me that. And he was like, as a joke. And she's like, no, it was not a joke. Like, you know that he's your second cousin. Zach's like, quit telling people that. It's freaking weird. But she, again, is trying to gaslight him into believing something is true when it's not.
Well, and she keeps on having other people believe this story and her stories. And it's really dangerous because, like, she's mean. We didn't see it at first, but, like, this season is really kind of showing all of her, like, you know, cracks and faults and all those things. I think it's wild to me. It was very, and that's what I said. I said, like, Jen is just lying and saying she never said anything bad about Zach, which is not true. We have the clips from previous seasons.
You're literally on camera, girl.
Yeah, and so then, you know, Jen wants to talk about Italy at Vanderpump Villa and all of those things, and she's deflecting. She's deflecting, like, blame, and she's talking about, and I watched Vanderpump Villa, just so you guys know, because I love that. I love Vanderpump, all things Vanderpump, and it was not bad. Marciano was pursuing Demi. Demi was very respectful. I'm married. She made it very clear. Like, was there some flirtation? Yes, absolutely. But she wasn't making out with him. She gave him a hug at the end. That was it. But Jen was trying to hold this over her. I'm going to tell you, insinuating that she cheated on her husband, which was crazy. And then,
which obviously her husband can see those clips.
Right. He can go on and see them, like, they're out now. But I think back then you couldn't see them because that season just dropped.
Okay.
That season just dropped a few months ago. But Jen was ready to die on the hill that he's the cousin, that Ben was the cousin. It was just everything about this. And then this was really, I don't know how I feel about this with Zach. He goes, I want to support her even though I don't trust them. So I'm going to the party for you since you want to associate with them. And so I think that, again, Zach and Jen, they need to all sit down and have a real conversation without Jen interrupting. And I don't think that's going to happen. I think that later on we see some kind of sit down, but it's not what needs to be.
I know when they were on the couch and they were talking, and he's like trying to talk, and then she said, "You've been talking for 5 minutes. Let me talk. I'm gonna talk." And I was like,
Yeah.
He wasn't trying to interrupt you, or I was.
And he was really. I was really, again. I don't like Zach.
Yeah.
In these moments, I was like, okay, he's really trying to process this, and I think he's hurt, and he was trying to understand stuff.
Well, yeah, because she's saying things behind his back. He said, "I would never tell the guys issues that we're having in our relationship," which I get. Girls are different. They feel like they need somebody to vent. But when you're only saying negative things about your partner, how else are people supposed to react?
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely true. There's no other way to react.
You painted your husband a villain. Granted, yeah. I don't think he's perfect or even a good husband.
I'm not saying he's a saint, but yeah.
You've done the damage.
I wonder if after this season if they watch this show, because I'm sorry, as a husband, if my wife was on TV, I'd be watching that show.
No, so he did watch season 1 because he was like watching it back where Jesse and Demi from season 1 said that I blew my tuition money or my college money on gambling was hurtful because that's a blatant lie. But that's what Jen told them.
Yeah. And I think that if he watches back this season, I think he's going to see a lot of
contradictory things. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I don't know if we really want to talk about the Halloween party this episode, or if we should go, because that's so much happens at that party. I feel like that's going to be an episode in itself.
Yeah, just kind of touch on it a little bit. We already know it's going to be messy. I want to say that Jesse and Demi are so good at stirring the pot. This guest list is wild. And then on top of that, they introduced the idea of this like exposure therapy for Jen and Zach. And they're training for that.
I don't like that either. And I don't like where he's like, yeah, I'm a therapist. This is exposure therapy. I don't like that either.
Yeah, no, the whole thing was kind of messy, and they're really dogging on Jen because, I mean, Jen's not the best right now, but they dressed up as J-Lo and Ben Affleck as like a jab at them.
I feel like that was lighthearted. Yeah. I think the other stuff, and then, okay, so I'm just going to spill the beans. You're going to find out later, but I'm going to say it now. They did tell Jen that this was happening.
Yeah.
Jen knew that they were doing this, and she okayed it. So the fact that everyone's upset about like the stripping, yes, I think or the Chippendale, whatever, the performance, I get why they'd be mad. She okayed it. Had she not okayed it, then yes, 100%.
It gets so much messier in the next episode, but we're gonna save that for next time so we can really deep dive into that.
But again, they blindsided Taylor with Chase. Again, another showing of how they blindside her every time.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
And then, because this does happen in this episode, Dakota does not show up for Taylor.
Which is what I was telling you earlier when I said how Zach was stood up and said, I'm not going to talk bad about my wife. Dakota needed to take a page out of Zach's book.
Yeah, because, I mean, there was that one point where she was like, if we're going truth for truth, you're not telling the truth. And then Dakota's like, yeah, man, I don't think you're telling the truth. And then Chase says something else. And then he's like, oh, yeah, Taylor, like, explain that to me. I didn't know about this. Explain that to me.
No, he said, I only learned about that a few months ago. And I'm like, bitch, you already knew about it. Why are you bringing it up? And why are you taking Chase's side?
He said he didn't know about the sex dream, but he's trying to compare what Taylor did to what he did. But the difference is him and Taylor didn't even know each other when that shit was going on. She does not have to explain in detail to you what happened.
Yeah. So I rewatched that part where he was saying it because I wanted to hear exactly what he said. And Dakota said, I just found out about that a few months ago. So he did know about it previous to the party, but he allowed Chase to rile him up.
Yeah.
So he did know, and he said that. But I think that that's crazy that he's using Chase, whatever, stupid ass. He lets stupid ass pick on his girlfriend. He doesn't stand up for her. And he said he's like, yeah, I think you're lying, but then he still continues to defend him. That man doesn't need your defense. You owe respect to Taylor. And when Chase came up to Dakota in the first place, he should have said, hey, good to see you, and walked away. Dakota kept on engaging.
They've never had any interaction from what we're seeing before this point.
Right. And there was no need for it.
Why is he coming up to me? Yeah, there's no need for it. I think the only reason that Chase showed up is because he is still obsessed with Taylor.
I agree. Well, because, and then the girlfriend said that. The girlfriend said, I even tried to bait him and say, oh, I'm not feeling well, let's not go. And he goes, no, we gotta go, we gotta go. So the current girlfriend of Chase knows this, even tried to bait him, and he still said, oh no, we gotta go, we gotta go.
And I think she says in one point there that she didn't know all the stuff that they were talking about. She was like, I didn't know this stuff. Yeah. And so she was very blindsided and hurt too. Yeah. So I feel for her.
She should be. Like, that's crazy. All the crazy.
You're in a relationship now, yet you're still obsessing on this situation that, you
shouldn't be.
Anyway. That is kind of a wrap for today. We would love to know anything that we missed on or that you would like us to talk about for our next episode. So, yeah. Do you got anything else to say, Stacey?
No, I think that's it. Thanks, guys, for coming. Yeah, drop the comments and let us know. And if we completely missed the mark, let us know. Our feelings won't be hurt. Well, they might be hurt. It's fine. We're sensitive. Thanks for watching ADHT. Love you guys.
Yes, bye.
Bye.